it's very frustrating, yeah, where there's a few hours till you've got to teach a Bible study. You just got home from work and you're like, I've just got to finish off these few points so I'm ready to teach it. And then you see in the last verse of your Bible study, that's not what it's all about. I've got to change everything. Especially if you've done a PowerPoint as well. So that is really frustrating. That's why we're emphasizing these early stages. I know these early stages aren't exciting, but they are crucial. What we're going to do in a minute does get quite exciting. Okay, I think you'll all agree later. But this is the key foundation. So, right, we have to work out the main point of the text. Now what that means is the main point of what John saw. Okay, from John's perspective, what's the main point? Or, sorry, I'm saying John because we're looking at Revelation, the author. That's what I should say. What's the main point of the author right here? Now, it's not what we see as the main point, but it's what John saw as the main point. Okay, you can have your own views about the main point. We'll talk about that later. But for this stage, we're working out what is the main point of John, of the author. So what is the main point of the author? What does he see as the main point? Now, these are the three things that you'll get from the main point, right? The main point will link together the different points of the text. That's why I was saying, when you structure your text, give it a title, but also give it a theme. Because sometimes you'll struggle to find what the main point of the text is. Yeah? Or you'll come up with your own presupposition, or you have your own presupposition based on films you've watched and teachings you've heard in the past. And then when you come to write it down, you then look at what the different themes of each structure are and you realise, no, I got that wrong. That's not really what this text is talking about. So if you write down a theme for each section, then what you do, you look at all the separate themes and you say, what is the main theme here? What links them all together? And you will find one theme that links them all together. That is the main theme, or the main point of the text from the author's point of view, right? The next thing it will do, it will give meaning to the different points of the text. Very important, because it means when you're teaching, and you've got this 15-minute study with all these sub-points about around the throne, in front of the throne, the different creatures, because you've worked out the main point, you can link them all together. Which means the people sitting down listening to you aren't on some roller coaster, like, whoa, where's he going now? Although sometimes that might be exciting, but some people, their brain is just going to drift. And they're not going to understand. But if you've got a main theme that links it all together, they're going to be like, ah, I see what's happening here. I see what's going on. And Rob Dingman's really good at this. I don't even know if he knows he does this. But you see Rob Dingman, he's teaching, and you're like, ah, and he says something, and then later he goes, now that's why. And what he's doing, he's bringing in this theme again, and you're like, wow. And that's what makes it fun to get up early on Sunday morning and go to church. You know? So the third thing it does, right, is the main theme will say what the author is talking about in the text. Okay, so those three things, it will link together the different points of the text, it will give meaning to the different points of the text, and it will say what the author is actually talking about in the text. So this stage is all from the perspective of the author. And in our study we're doing today, it's all to do with John. Okay? It's not to do with Marvin Rosenthal or Chuck Smith or Walverd, whatever you say his name, Pentecost. Yeah, I think for me it's been a real blessing applying this to teaching the book of Revelation. It's like, what was John impressed with during this part of the vision? Right, I'm going to come up with some tips for working out the main point, right? The first is what I just said. Look at all the different themes you wrote down for each major section. It's so helpful to do that. What I do all of this on the computer, because otherwise you're doing a lot of writing, yeah? And what I do is the themes I put in red. So on my computer, in black, if you can see, this is the text. I copy and paste the whole of Revelation chapter 4 as one black text. Then I start cutting it up. So here you can see I've got a section, right? The next black bit of text, sorry, I'm at the end here, so black text, black text, black text, right? Then I write a theme in red. So there's a theme there in red. There's a theme there in red. There's a theme there in red. This is the way I personally do it. It saves me a lot of time doing it this way on a computer. And then the blue bits, that's the exciting bit. We're going to come on to that, right? I'm going to tell you about those bits yet. So I do these themes, and if you do that, you then look at all your different themes, and then you're like, that is the main point of the text. And it's exciting. Now you should write down the main point in one sentence. Sometimes it's hard to do that, but you know what? If you can't write it in a sentence, you can't communicate it to a room full of people. Something I've learned, you know? I can freestyle when I'm rapping, but I try doing it up there, and I know what it is inside, but I've never ever articulated it. I've never told someone it. I've never told my laptop it when I'm typing it down. I've never written it on paper, and I go to explain it, and I go, blah, blah, blah. And then you find yourself saying, what I mean is, it's like, and you're like, ah. But if you type it out first or write it down on paper, you'll be able to communicate it. Now, very important, this third point. Ask yourself, is it accurate? Once you've written down the main point of the text, you have to ask yourself this question. You have to say to yourself, is this accurate? What that means is it precise? The main point I've written, is that really accurate? The next thing is to ask yourself, is it adequate? And when I say adequate, I mean, is it enough? Have I really adequately said the main point? Now, when you ask yourself the adequate question, you often find that you haven't put enough information in your theme. That's what I find. I ask myself, is it accurate? And the kind of personality I am, I'm normally like, I have made that pretty accurate. But then I say, is it adequate? And I'm like, do you know what? John was feeling more than what I've just written down. There's more to it. What I've said is not adequate. Get this accuracy and this adequacy right, because otherwise the rest of your study you're going to run into problems later, and you're going to start changing stuff up. So, you can all guess what the practical is now. You've got 5 minutes. Work out and write down the main point of Revelation chapter 4. Remember, this is from John's perspective. What is the main point of this chapter? What is the main theme of his chapter? And I would encourage you to refer to your handout as you do it as well. And especially, is it accurate and is it adequate? And does it link up all the different themes we've done so far? So you've got 5 minutes to do that. If you want, right, I think I didn't tell you this before for simplicity's sake, but there's a way you can do this where you actually write down the main point in 2 sentences. The first sentence is called the theme, and the second sentence is called the thrust. Right, now what that means is that the theme is what is the main theme of this text. The thrust is what does the author actually say about the theme? See, the theme is like the main point. The thrust is what does the author say about the main point? Now, you might find that more helpful. Then again, you might not. So if for you personally find it easier to just ask yourself, what is the main point of the text? Then go with that. But if you like to have a theme and a thrust, then go with that.